Hey everyone's Classic DM. We're back with another video in this Hall of the Fire Giant King Dungeon Master's Guide. Thanks for coming back. If you missed the first one, we did an intro video that kind of covers the location, some of the discrepancies of which hex grid it was actually located at. And one of the subscribers had mentioned that I actually misread the hex grid that was supposed to be read diagonally. So thank you for pointing that out. You would think after playing D&D since 1977, 78 as a little kid that I would have read the last part of the Gazetteer and read how to read the hex grid on Darlene's famous map. So thank you for that. Accuracy is more important than impression. So today what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at areas 1 through 9, and this is a Dungeon Master's Guide, okay? So what we're going to do is we'll read the description. We'll skip all the descriptions of like 400 GP gems worth of, we'll skip that stuff. We'll just glean out what is the data that you need to know about so that when you run that area, you have some ideas on how to put your personal twist on it, what you can do to make it run properly, because you want to respect the original design, because this thing has been run for decades now, right? So this is always a great starting place. On the right hand side, we're going to use John Pintar's map. I've got a blown up version here that we can zoom in on, and let's just go ahead and get started by zooming in on area 1. And his resolutions maps are pretty darn good, so I'll leave this up in the background for you while we're talking about the location. I just zoomed way far away. Let's get back down here again. Sorry about that. All right, and the music should not be too loud, just enough for atmosphere. All right, there we go. That's good. So this first area, this entry passage, let's just go through it. And if you have a copy of it, you can read along. I'm not gonna pull this up on the screen. I want you to look at the map, and while I'm just picking out the pieces and parts of the writing, I'm gonna keep this on a separate screen to make it easier. So this first area, these are the big obsidian doors that are like 3 feet thick. You may remember me talking about that before. So the first thing that says here is the entry passage, which is number 1. The floor here is polished obsidian, and the great wall hangings can be seen by the party as soon as they enter. The tapestries between the torches are done in bloody colors and show victorious fire giants. The door guard is in alcove A. Now remember, this is only a 5-foot grid when John Pintar redid this. The original stuff is like a 10-foot grid, and the map is, there's plenty of room to get in the front door, right? They're talking about these tapestries. So what John does is he takes the liberty of putting tapestries on the map where he thinks it's appropriate. So he's got big long wall hanging tapestry here. Remember, some of these ceilings are in the hallways are about 30 feet tall. So that's like 3 times the height of a basketball goal. Big tapestries hanging down. Who knows who did the weaving, whoever the proper word is. So you're going to see this from a distance, and you would probably be able to see if this thing is illuminated glowing light from coming in here, because remember, one thing John doesn't do is he will sometimes put lighting in an individual room, but he won't put like wall sconces on. And as a former architect type of a guy and a level designer, I like to think about where would the lighting be. I mean, the fire giants aren't going to run around in a dark hallway. They're going to have enough lighting to see what's going on. So think about where would be good places to put wall sconces that have, lights and torch light coming on. So this one area here, A, which you see here with the tapestry kind of concealing it. The tapestry hanging before this post is loosely woven as to allow the fire giant, in a dark recess, to clearly see whoever enters. If intruders are spotted, he will wind his great bronze horn to warn the hall. So he's got the dude sitting in there on guard duty. They may have a shift rotation. Who knows what happens when you guys and girls come in the front door. People take 2 steps. A dungeon master, you can imagine drawing this long hallway for them, and you're describing the light in the distance, and most players are like, wow, check it out. It's like the big hallway in the Tomb of Horrors, right? Lots of cool visuals, light, and maybe an echo. The floor is really crazy. They don't think that there's anything behind the first tapestry on the left, and it's right away. So one thing that's mentioned in Gygax's write-up that you have to remember is he's always talking about when the party defeats some giants and leave and go back to their magical cave and get all their spells back, and then they come back for a second time. So he does discuss how they would want to set up a ballista in this area. Basically what he says, that if the party severely defeats the giants in the hall, meaning the whole area, a ballista from 10A, another area that we will cover a little bit later on in the next video, will be set up in the hallway. I always thought this was kind of interesting. When they ran this as a tournament module before, they must have situations where people are like going in there like save game spammers in video game industry and kill a couple of giants, hit a save game, leave, get your spells back, come back. And most of that's just conversation. There's not really a lot of wandering monsters happening when you leave the dungeon. For me personally, if I was the fire giant king himself, I would set up guards and have boulders and stuff. They can sling boulders down this hallway. I'll probably even barricade this. And remember, they can also consult with the drow, however you want to pronounce them. I'm going to call them drow, to give them some advice on what to do to set up some additional traps. So that's the main entrance. Odds are, and it's never discussed in a module, there's a pair of Ettins here. And let me talk about the Ettins real quick before we go back to the entry hallway. In this area here, there's two Ettins, which are always here using their 4 heads, because remember, an Ettin has 2 heads each. They watch in all directions. They're armed with a huge morning star of black metal and a spear. If they throw the spear, they will then arm their right hand with the morning star and be left with a mace. If a guard at the gate sounds the alarm, these monsters will move to hold the mouth of the entry. I can't read today. What is wrong with me? I need to get a beer or something. Basically, these 2 guards that are going to be in area 2 are going to be that first line of defense. They're going to want to try to, if they hear the horn going off or they hear fighting, which isn't even mentioned, if you hear fighting in this hallway, swords hitting plate mail, giants yelling in pain, getting hit and killed. The Ettins aren't stupid. It's like they can't. This is just going to echo down the hallway. They're going to see this going on. What you want to do is, as a game designer / dungeon master, is decide what you want to do with the Ettins themselves. Remember, what they say in the module is, if the guard at the gate, the one behind the tapestry, sounds the alarm, the Ettins will move to hold the mouth of the entryway until help arrives. That's assuming that when this guy blows this horn, or winds it, however they want to call it, that everyone down the hallway can hear it. Now, when we get over here, we'll have the discussion about this area where the fire giant king himself is, right? And he's got guys with him and everything. They would be able to hear all this, but this is pretty long hallway. You would hear something up. And if the king is sitting on his throne, he might send, if the Ettins run down the hallway to block the doorway, one might run back over here to tell the rest that we've got invaders or intruders or elves or whatever else the problem is. So think about that initial situation, because why? It begins with a fight that makes a lot of noise, that alerts some Ettins. Not both Ettins are going to come stand here and everything's going to be calm and everyone's sitting here just smoking reefer or something. These guys are going to be coming down the hallway. It's going to be a melee. This is going to be a nasty fight. And with this tapestry here leading down to this area, and this hallway going up to this area, and this hallway going here, and the queen and her handmaidens, everything else down here, the fire giant king himself, the passageways that's back here, there's a lot of tactical options. So what I like to do is this. Here's my advice. I like to think ahead of time of when the party comes busting down the hallway. I'm like, okay, they're trying to be quiet. Okay, maybe the Ettins don't hear them. Maybe the Ettins don't really react yet until they come creeping up the hallway. And if my party adventures are like hide in shadows, move silently, climb wall, thieves, and they're going down the hallway very surreptitiously and silently, I let them get away with it usually, unless they have bad rolls. Don't always assume that the Ettins standing here just going to come stand in the hallway and fight to death and be stupid, right? Make it tactically interesting, that's playing to what the players are trying to achieve, and give them a chance to try and achieve it. Nothing worse than reading in the module that says both Ettins are going to come from 2 and just stand here and block the hallway. Wow, well, what's going to happen down here? Surely they're going to hear everything. And what's going to happen down here? They're going to hear anything. Would these handmaidens be able to hear a ruckus going through 10 feet of rock? So think about those things. Don't lock yourself into running it exactly the way that it's written. Okay, let's take a deep breath, because we're going to talk about this area here, right? This is the throne room and the audience chamber, and it says basically there's 2 steps of white veined black marble that lead up. The floor is deep red polished stone. The huge stone pillars of polished obsidian. Between them is a massive throne of jet and black and white banded onyx. The whole is inlaid with sard, which I've never actually heard of before. I don't know what sard even is. I remember years ago reading this thing. I should have looked up in the dictionary, but back then there's no internet. So I didn't want to grab a big old dictionary. I wonder what sard looks like. I'll have to research that, right? It's set with fire opals, inlaid with colored stone to show various scenes of the victory of King Snur over his opponents. Behind the throne, the wall shows the flaming skull, which is Snur's own device, flanked by fire giants with clubs over their shoulder. It's kind of funny that they wouldn't have swords or two-handed axes. Clubs seem such a steadying hill giant kind of a vibe, right? Huge torches burn in bronze crescents. The secret door is actually one of the flanking giants inlaid in the wall. The crescent to the left is pulled down to cause it to swing inward. So there's 4 fire giants that are in this area in chain shirts. They're with them at all times. They have huge throwing hammers. The ones with the clubs are part of the inlays that's on the wall that's back here. And they've got these markers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the throne itself, these huge pillars. So, imagine what's going on. Like the king, the, fire giant king is sitting on his throne. He's got 4 guards with him. Well, who's in front of him that he's talking to? Like, what's he doing? He's not sitting there staring at the ends in the hallway, wondering what's going to happen this afternoon. He's probably got something going on. I always thought it was very cool to throw in like a frost giant here, like a messenger that's telling him about what happened at the glacial rift of frost giant Jarl, and he's getting more and more pissed off at how the frost giants have failed everything. So when the players come zipping in here, if they're using comprehend languages or something like that, they might actually be able to sneak in here and overhear the connectivity between the glacial rift of the frost giant Jarl and the Hall of Fire Giant King, because the fire giants are higher in the hierarchy. They're further up in the power level than the frost giants are. It would be interesting to stumble across, this audience with King Snor just happening 45 minutes before you arrive. I thought that's really, really interesting thing to do it. Now, they talk about the king himself. He's probably the nastiest guy in the whole adventure besides the Clavdra and friends. He's like 92 hit points. He's seated on the throne. He's over 13 feet tall. Fire giants are usually 12 feet tall. Black iron armor, AC 0, huge two-handed sword, has flames along its blade when it's swung. He fights as a storm giant. That means you got to go back to your monster manual and look up the storm giant. And when you look at the matrix that's in the Dungeon Master's Guide or in your DM screen, you have to make sure that the hit dice to hit monster table that you're using the storm giant hit probability. And he hits for 7 to 42 damage, which will pretty much crush any caster, monk, thief in one hit if they land properly. Otherwise, he fights as a cloud giant. So that's kind of interesting. The king fights as a storm giant with hit probability, and he is armed with a sword. Otherwise, when he's not using the sword, he fights as a cloud giant. So maybe there's boulders he's going to throw, or rocks or something along those lines. But that's not specifically mentioned. He's hugely muscled, extraordinarily ugly, very broad bandy legs. His teeth are tusk-like and protruding, almost orange in color. Snur's head beneath his iron helm is bald, but his side, maybe the helm can fly off while you're having the combat situation. That'd be hilarious. Give his AC a penalty, drop it to 1. His side whiskers and beard are bright orange and full. Note that he's clad in a cloak of white dragon hide, which gives him +3 on saving throws against cold-based attacks. That's one thing that's very funny when you're running an adventure and your friends know you're going to be playing the Hall of the Fire Giant King, how some of your friends kind of magically show up with some kind of fire resistance gear and cloaks. I remember when we were little kids, the other kids would over prepare and cheat and give themselves gear. And be maybe you bought it somewhere, we don't know. But this is pretty nice because if someone, bumps into this fire giants and realizes wow, let's retreat, let's investigate the place. Let's come back with cold spells, right? Thinking they're going to help. So cold-based attacks will reduce the cold damage sustained by 50%, which is huge. Damage resistance became a big deal in 3rd edition. 3.5, 3rd, it's the same thing, right? 2nd edition, 1st edition, there is some damage resistance things in there, but it's not as much of a major game feature, right? And so remember that. So if someone's doing Cone of Cold or an Ice Storm or something like that, and, okay, the total damage is 27, you got to cut that in half, okay? So, and round to the nearest whole number. So he's wearing a crown. So this is the big fight room, in my opinion. I don't think it would be worthwhile to put any drow here or any priestesses. I love the idea of the frost giant messenger. Maybe one guy's maimed and his arm has been cut off. You could tie that into what your players did at the actual glacial rift of the frost giant Jarl. Like, did they capture someone? Did someone escape? Did the king escape? Did one of the handlers of wargs get away? Things like that. This would be a great place to have that happen. And so when the big fight breaks out, the fire giants will be taking care of it, and the frost giants might chip in and help a little bit. Now, from a morale perspective, I don't see any reason in any way, shape, or form that this king would retreat unless his other guards are being, if they bring down one of the players or really damage them a lot, and the guards start getting pwned really, really bad, he would probably retreat down here. You see this tapestry, which is going to go down this hallway where 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. And we have 8 and 9 up here, which is really neat little space. So this area here is his home, right? And he has all kinds of hidden goodies back here. His bride is here and her handmaiden. So if things get bad, think about them fighting here. I don't think there'd be a parlay or anything. unless the players are really, really good D&D players and really know how to do things with illusions and stuff. If the big fight's going to happen around here, I wouldn't try to have him escape through a secret passage or anything like that. I would really focus instead on him trying to work his way through and bust through this tapestry. I don't think the players would understand this tapestry. Is it really a doorway? What's going on with it? I have had situations when players are playing the game and they try to hide behind the tapestries like thieves and move behind them, and they would realize like, oh, there's a whole hallway back there. Do we need to go investigating this hallway first? So there may be a situation, if they're very stealthy, that thieves and monks and stuff like that can zip their way into here, people under invisibility, while these guys are having an audience with the frost giant visitors, and then they're in here investigating things and cause a bunch of trouble down here, and then these guys come investigate and lock them in. So think about that, okay? That is going to be the coolest memory for your players ever in this whole module, except for the Clavdra junk, is what do you do with the Fire Giant King himself? How do you handle fighting this guy? And when you're a dungeon master, you really want it to be more than just bashing the guy's brains, and make it interesting, make it feel like a scene from the Tudors or a movie or something like that, and make sure it's as exciting as possible. Okay, we're going to pivot down to this Queen Serving Maids area, which is way down here. Let's zoom in on this a little bit so you can see it a little better. Let's do it this way. Okay, so we're going to come down here to 4. This is a double door here, long hallway, and another tapestry divider, right? The chamber of the Queen Serving Maids, which is area 4, where you see these beds against the wall. The length of the hall and the chamber proper are covered with hide rugs and wall hangings. Note that when one of the screens to the entrance to Queen Private Chamber, there are torches on the walls, 6 chairs, 3 small tables, etc., etc., etc. So what you have here is there's 4 fire giant females, hit points like 40 to 39, waiting in the hallway outside the Queen's chambers, and 4 at the end of the chamber. So you have 8 all together. So you have 4 hanging around here, maybe sitting at this table waiting for her to give them instructions, and maybe 4 over here resting in bed or doing something. They're certainly not reading a novel. That's really tricky. You open this door and you've immediately got 4 to 8 fire giant females with decent hit points and decent ability to fight. They have swords. They'll fight as frost giants. You're going to have to, even though they're fire giants, you're going to look up the hit dice number for the frost giant and make sure when you're using your roll to hit table, it's going to be a little bit lower for them slightly. And of course, there's all this treasure and shit everywhere. You can read that yourself. But I want to talk about the gameplay and what really happens. Then you got this Queen Fruppy. This is area 5. This is the Fire Giant King's bride. The descriptions of her are hilarious, but the floors and the walls in her area are covered with rich rugs, tapestries, no real value or anything. Well lit by torches, large brazier makes it very hot. So when John made this, he made this big brazier right here in case it's all hot when you come in the front door. If anything, she's sly and cunning horror. If anything, uglier than Snur. Topped by huge mass of yellow-orange hair, which looks like a fright wig. Queen Fruppy's face is a mass of jowls and wrinkles set in the middle of a very large head, which sits squarely on her shoulders. Her body is lumpy and gross, and her skin is covered with bristles the color of her hair. Her little pig eyes, however, are bright and intelligent, unusual in a giant. She wears garments of a black dragon hide set with iron studs, and this gives her an effective armor class of 2. She fights as a normal fire giant male, has a bonus to +2 to hit, +4 on damage, and then she got a bunch of jewelry and things like that. She wields an iron scepter as a weapon, which you'll probably need to work that as a mace type weapon, right? I don't believe in the original AD&D Player's Handbook there is a scepter as a weapon. She also has a pair of giant weasels, which will do anything they want to protect her. Giant weasels will be pretty big. Imagine these things like the size of a real wolf in real life. Wiggly little bastards. They're only like 24 or 19 health. You need to look up their AC. It's not really provided here in the module. You need your monster manual out. So here's the part about the tactics, right? In this area here, 4 and 5. Any intruders entering the place will be commanded by Queen Fruppy to kneel in her august presence and state their business, so that she may fairly dispose of their humble requests. Any so foolish to do so will be sorry, as Fruppy will call forth her pets and herself and strike at the most powerful appearing intruder. She strikes at +4 due to this position and +8 on damage. So, 17 to 42 again. A score of a natural 20 indicates she has decapitated the victim, and then she will bellow for her serving mates to come to her aid. What's so weird about that is if you sneak in the front door, that you got 4 mates here are going to see you immediately and freak out and probably try to attack you. I doubt very seriously that fire giants are going to see a party of elves, half-elves, rangers, gnomes, and illusionists, monks, and bards and go, hey, what are you guys doing here? Especially we're just a bunch of Greyhawk surface dwellers. I would highly, unless the party has using illusions, which is a really cool technique, I would suspect that the fire giantess handmaidens would brace and warn Fruppy immediately, who would come whipping out the front of this area with her weasels, and a melee is going to happen here in the doorway, right? Unless the party can push in or pull back to here, to pull them out of the room. They might stay in the room and defend the room. That they're trapped in here, but that with 8 female fire giants, handmaidens, and Queen Fruppy herself against a party of 5 or 6 in a modern day, I mean, you're not going to get 12 players at a table anymore. That could be a very, very nasty little tactical situation where it's hard for the party to get in there. You can only get 1 or 2 giants at the most at a time. The ones in the back can't do anything. So it could be a good choke point for fighting. If you're an old Diablo 1, 2, 3, 4 player, you'd know what that's about, having a choke point. Okay, so that's what's going on there with Queen Fruppy. Now, remember earlier we were talking about how, however things play out up here, if Snore starts to have problems, how he would probably retreat back into this area. He would probably retreat back into here and warn these group by yelling. And so that you can find a situation where he's going to go back this way, and Fruppy and her handmaidens are fighting the party in this hallway, which would be ideal. And area 6 is that's his King's Guard chamber, right? So let's go ahead and jump over to area 6 next, right? This is this area right here. 4 fire giants resting before assuming duty to snur. So even though there is these markers up here, 1, 2, 3, and 4, you still got, the bed, he only drew 2 beds in here, but you got 4 fire giants in here, right? Chain shirts, AC2, there's 4 cots, 4 stools in the chamber. Let's see what the details here are worth talking about. So you got more guards there. Let's see here, all repository wealthy on-duty guards, 12 boulders in the entry hall, 6 along either wall. So you got boulders and stuff around here as well. So that's a lot of manpower happening between here and here. If their party has killed the king and left, she'll find out about it and may reinforce this whole area. So this could be very nasty. You have to really think about that long-term problem here. Now let's go down in here to 7, which is the Hall of Fire Giant King's private quarters. Great iron doors, this place. Oh, I forgot to mention, remember all these doors are iron. Even though John did the same kind of diagrammatic drawing artwork as this, these are obsidian and stone. All the doors in the interior of the dungeon are all iron. I want to make sure I mentioned that again. Iron doors, this place bear the blazon of a flaming skull. That's his logo. 6 hellhounds roam the outer hall. So they're talking about this. 6 hellhounds are hanging out, going back and forth, sleeping in chairs, just like pups, right? There's 6 chairs, 2 benches on the wall, 3 tables interspersed with a keg of ale, beer, mead, leather, blah, blah, blah. 8 normal shields, 8 normal swords decorate bare patches of the wall. There is a step up just at the pillar of reddish stone, which ends the forehall and marks the entry. This is this line right here. This is a big step up. Now imagine like a fire giant step. Now in the real world, when you do in a building, it's 7.5 inches rise, 11 inches of run, unless you're on the steps of some Capitol building that's got some elaborate architecture. Get a sip of my drink here. Okay, so the step up there might be 24 inches. The reason why I mention that kind of stuff, because some people playing gnomes. They're playing gnomes and halflings and dwarves, and they're running up and trying to jump 24 inches, and they're wearing full plate mail. I mean, that could be a dex check for you. All right, so the bedchamber of the king contains a huge bed, a table, small throne of ebony, 3 lesser chairs, and a tall cabinet. So John's got this stuff covered pretty well. This is really nice. The one about his work I really like. The floor is covered with pelts, and the walls are hung with tapestries, which are worthless. 2 shields, axes, sword, flails. It mentions about the flail is used to subdue the Pyrohydra at 8, which we're going to get to in a few minutes. He torments that thing, but we'll cover that in a minute. So as usual, once you get past like the first few sentences of description of a room, you get into all this like gibbles detail, where Gygax likes to say 8 fur pelts worth 1,000 to 4,000 GP each, and animal bits of wood and some stones. One is a 1000 GP based block of carnelian. Like they really, because in the original AD&D, the idea was you fight something, you defeat it, you take their treasure, you get experience points at a 1-to-1 ratio for the value of the items that you gain possession of without even necessarily selling them and converting them into gold. So there, you will see this in all the AD&D modules. You old school guys probably have ways of dealing with it. I gained more experience for the fighting and the killing than I did for the loot. But that's why all these modules are just chock full of these, the bed is covered with furs, 100 to 600 GP each, 12 total. Can you imagine the party of adventurers like, man, let's roll these furs up and use some bungee cords and take them to town. We could get $600 each for them. I mean, by the time the players are playing in this level of campaign, they're looking for magic items, right? They want to find an ion stone. They don't want to, they're not really interested in furs and pelts and big bulky crap. Jewelry, small pocketable items, they work great. All right, so there's a secret door to the north, which is this. Now, John doesn't put the big old letter S in here. He just puts a thing adjacent to it. You're expected to know the module in of itself. Let's go back to the description here on this page here. Let's see here on the table, blah, 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 king, flaming jets of gas. The secret door to the north is very well concealed, and it can be located only in a 1 in 10 or by magical means, never by such normal means as possessed by an elf. For example, the same is true at door number 8, but magical means locates at 1 in 4. A projecting stone to the left of the secret door is what's used to operate it. 12 feet above the floor is pushed to call a 4-foot thick portal to pivot to form an opening, like a door that has a pivot in the middle, like you see in the Indiana Jones movie, The Last Crusade, where they're like the fireplace pivots in place. And this leads into this cave. So this is tricky. You don't want the players to miss this stuff, right? You don't want to roll a 1 in 10 in the background and go, crap, I rolled a 7. Like no one in the party. You're all dressed up for the prom. You came here wiping the floor with everything. You're getting loot. You're not taking the fur pelts. You wiped out the hellhounds. There's blood everywhere. You're in the dude's bedroom. You're pilfering his crap, and you don't find the secret door because there's a full page of treasure when you get to this next area. So this is the thing that we need to look at next. And we got almost done with today's video. I don't want to do too much of them because they get too long. So in this area, 8 and 9... you have this cave beyond, right? Let's go ahead and change this over here so I can read a little bit better. 8 refers to this cave, and 9 is his treasure room, which has all this loot and stuff everywhere. It's one of the coolest loot chambers of all D&D. There's a 10-headed pyrohydra lurking in the north or the south. And it has some stats like dice you can roll to see if it hears anyone coming up the steps to its lair. There are steps. This is elevated, okay? So you're going up one big step here, and then you come to the secret door, which you're going to have to figure a way to let the players find the damn thing, unless they're just really, really good at searching every wall for one turn. And then going up to here, these steps, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, there's 15 some odd steps. This is like almost a flight and a half, 20 feet elevated, and it's a cave, right? So the pyrohydra is considered to be extremely vicious. And it says, the king likes to beat it and torment it for fun, hopes to take revenge on virtually any living thing. It attacks by biting. Each head does 1 to 10 points of damage. When it bites, it breathes fire for 1 to 10 points of damage each head. There's no mention of the armor class rating for this in situ in the description. So you'll need to come up with that. You may want to look at a hydra and maybe just say, okay, it's a hydra, but it's a pyrohydra, which means it does fire. That's basically what Gygax is probably trying to convey here. Something that protects his treasure, hates anyone that comes in the room, tries to kill them. Now for the nutty part. Like I said, Gygax likes to do this. There are a number of containers in here. There's like 8 trunks. There's, how many chests are there? There's 6 chests. And then there's coffers, right? So what you got to do when you look in your module, you'll see, each trunk is like 7 foot by 5 foot by 4 foot. They're huge, right? The chests are about 5 feet by 3 feet by 2 feet, and the little coffers like 2 feet by 1 feet by 1 foot. So it means 7 foot is longer than a big dining table, and 5 feet deep. Imagine like a 6 foot table, this massive, huge trunk. When you open up, you can put people inside of it. It's crazy. So in these things is a lot of stuff. Like trunk number 1, no trap, 72,000 silver pieces, right? Trunk 2, it's locked, it's empty. God, put something in there, please, right? Trunk 3, it's no lock or trap device on it. 60,000 copper pieces, hiding a sack at the bottom with 11 pieces of jewelry of 1,000 to 10,000 GP each. I'm telling you, man, it's almost like this is a one-shot just waiting to happen. Trunk 4, there's a blade in the lid that will chop down as if a fire giant were to hit you. That means it's got a roll to hit. It does like 3 to 24 damage. It will ruin 2 cubic feet if it misses the player. If you've got a great thief or a great monk that's able to find and remove traps, that's a great place for them to detect that. They would, be sure to let the tell the thief player that, like, what it looks like a blade might chop down and maybe damage the contents of the chest if they discover it. 3 cubic feet of silk is worth 3,000 gold pieces for cubic foot. Excuse me. Trunk number 5 is like 8 pieces of rare inlaid wood. Trunk 6 has 13,000 electrum pieces. Trunk 7 is also not locked. Not trapped. Excuse me, sorry about that. Has 12 fine ivory tusks. Trunk number 8, 9 large asps. This is just like in the Tomb of Horrors. Only 6 hit points each, plus 2 poison. Invisibility hides all the contents, including the asp. So you open his trunk up and you look in it, you don't see anything. With those snakes see you, they're going to come out and try to get you, right? Let's hope you got plate mail on. 6 pieces of 1,000, 4,000 GP jewelry. You just roll a d4. All right. Chest number 1. This is where they get smaller, remember. It has a weakness gas, a 10-foot radius cloud. So you'll need to mark where these things are on your map. I don't have the original map on the screen. I could pull it up, but you can coordinate that yourself. Where the things are actually located doesn't matter. I thought it was very funny that chest number 2 just has rocks in it. Maybe some of the rocks have like faces painted on them. Chest number 3 squirts acid. This is the trap. 3 to 12 damage with damage armor, etc. 12 potions, 8 scrolls, determined at random. That could be cool. I like to figure those out ahead of time. In my DM prep, I like to get the Dungeon Master's Guide out, and I like to roll the dice and see what the pieces are myself and jot it down in the margin of the actual Xerox print on a half of the module. So be sure to come up with something cool there. 8 scrolls could be great. The 12 potions could be anything, right? Really neat. Don't just give them potions of giant strength all the time. These guys don't have that kind of crap. Chest number 4, it's got a 4 spike chest, 4 backwards, 4 side. Each one hit as a fire giant, do like 2 to 12 points of damage each. 15-foot range. So these spikes flying out, that'd be nasty. It actually contains 17,300 gold pieces. That's enough to pay off all the debts of the village of Hamlet for all eternity. Chest number 5. It's locked, it's empty. Don't put an empty chest in the game, put shit in there. Chest 6, locked. Handles have contact poison plus 6 on them. Remember, contact poison means your skin has to touch it. You can have leather gloves on. It's funny, you don't want to ask someone at the moment of truth, like, do you have gloves on? And then it's like, yes, I have rubber dishwashing gloves on, right? It has 1 black cloak, a pair of black boots, man size, gives 75% chance to be invisible, move silently in dungeons. That has to be one of the most powerful items in the game. It's not even a drow or dro, whatever you call it. It's not even a dark elf item. This is like 1 black cloak, 1 pair of black boots. I mean, it's almost like something you would see in the rogues gallery with that assassin that's in there, that one money shot with the lizard man. Remember that picture? I mean, 75% chance to be invisible, move silently in dungeons, not in broad daylight. Wow, that would come in handy. Any character. I mean, imagine being in plate mail and going down the hallways of Paladin. I mean, imagine being a thief and having that as a backup plan. That's amazing. Then we get into the coffers. Poison needle trap, 1 coffer number 4. A bunch of rings. Has a ring of protection plus 3, which is hugely powerful in AD&D. A ring of contrariness. A ring of elemental command of water. Ring of delusion, and a ring of 3 wishes. Woo! We should do a video one day about it and just tell stories about what happened to your players when they got their hands on a ring of 3 wishes. Did they say, I wish for more wishes? What did they ask for? I want to live forever. I want to be infinitely wealthy. I never want to take damage ever again. I want to heal all my wounds within 1 melee round instantaneously anytime I'm damaged. Remember, genies like to change the wording of things and make it terrible. Coffer number 2 just has 1,325 platinum pieces. I thought coffer number 3 is kind of funny. It's packets of leaves and seeds and husk. Hot spices, but it's still worth 9,000 gold. So it's not cumin and coriander, that's for sure, turmeric. Number 4 says seize the treasure table. 7 highly crafted card statues of unknown mineral and workmanship. Each idol brings a cumulative -1 +1 curse to the possessor when carried. So that's kind of a nasty item. I don't know what you guys think, but I've always thought the element that in AD&D had cursed items. I mean, every time we played, there was always some situation where someone got level drained or a cursed item, and you're always like, ah, and it made people be more careful. There's not enough of it going around the model world. I think people are too happy rainbow oriented, but be sure to come up with a good, interesting curse for that besides just the dice roll type things. It's like a modifier to your saves and stuff like that. And then coffer number 4 is like 39 1000 GP gems. Underneath a layer, 266 gems, etc. The locks can't be picked by thieves and must be opened by bending bars or knock or magic missile. Probably because of the size. You can imagine these locks probably, you know, huger than a baseball hat. You can't just stick thieves' tools in there and start operating the tumblers. So I thought this was a really neat introductory area. Let me zoom back out just a little bit here. Now, area 10, which we're not going to go through today. Let's get this out a little bit more. And we'll zoom this down here. Okay, so we talked about 1, the entry, how to handle the Ettins. We're going to do a summary and close things out here. We talked about King Snore, maybe put some frost giants that escaped. They're reporting to him what happened. Don't put Drow here or anything. If the fight starts to get bad, don't have Snore run down the hallway and go down here. But if it starts to get bad, he start maneuvering down this way and calling for assistance that can come from way the hell up this hallway. There is an important NPC in 13 and 14. Be sure to read that and understand how that character acts, because they will fake things if they don't want things to go their way. 10, 11 is all up here, this army. We'll do that in the next video. We'll go 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We'll probably stop next at 14. And also, this tapestry, is the door open? Like, as the door closed? Is it considered nighttime? Is it after dinner? Therefore, what's going on with the kitchen and stuff over here? Think about how this place functions. And these 4 guards here and the 4 guards on duty, how King Snore would want to go back here. He wanted to escape through his secret door. He wouldn't want you to see him go through the secret door. The Pyrohydra's not going to come running down the hallway and fit through here, because remember, this only opens even the 8 foot and a pivot. There's some really neat tactical fights, and this is what makes this module so good. It's just a stand up, sneak in, infiltration, knockdown, drag out, face smashing fun. I mean, you can't think of anything more cool to do in AD&D. Okay, so I've done these kind of videos in the past. White Plume Mountain, Tomohara's. I did it for a little while for the Hidden Shot and Tomoe-shan, but I got so freaking busy with work, I couldn't even concentrate anymore. I was like, oh, I'm so tired. But with this one, I really want to go all the way to the end. Is this enough information? Is it too much, right? Leave a comment. Do you like the tactical ideas? Because I'm trying to share like what I think you can do to make this awesome for the players. Where to take the things that were written a long time ago, add your personal spice. Leave a comment, say what you did. Like, oh, no, when I had the Eden, I had him go running down here and join the fight. You know, share that stuff. Because I think the thing that separates my channel from other people's channels is that I love the freaking game like a kid. And I want people to play it and have a great time, have fun, because it's such awesome memories with this imagination. You're playing the game, whether you've got miniatures or theater of the mind, or you got your kids playing now, or even your grandkids playing now. There's cool stuff that can happen in here, and these things translate beyond video games, and it's just so incredible. But it takes some work on our part as a dungeon masters to be the excited film director and create these challenges and interesting situations for our players, so they're just totally enamored, and they're always being provoked to come up with creative, interesting ideas, because that's the fun of the game. The fun of the game is not rolling the dice and killing things and getting loot and counting treasure and leveling up. The fun part is to see, if I was there and I was a thief, what would I do? What does the party want me to do? Do we have enough spell power to wipe this out? Should we retreat? Should we set traps? What are we going to do? Don't change things to make it easier for the players. Don't change things to fight against the players. You're not their enemy. You're just adjudicating the world in a fair way. But put that film director narrative thinking behavior, AI element, real AI, like artificial intelligence, not modern day shit AI. Do that with your dungeons and you'll have a big time. And if you don't get to do this, but on a weekend, I mean, you could have, like, you say you have a son or a daughter and a friend from down the street and your wife are going to play, just give everyone a level 10 character, gear them out with like the AC -2, give them some +3 items, and have them sneak in the front door. Make sure someone's a thief and someone's a magic user. Make sure someone's a melee class, and have them just go up to this area 9 and seal this off with a tapestry, and just call it the Hall of the Fire Giant King, and let them have this Saturday, Sunday afternoon gaming experience. And you never forget it as long as you live. Cool. Give me feedback. Let me know what you like, what you don't like. Correct my errors. If you see anything really cool you like, you want more of, let me know, so I can make cool content that you guys like. And of course, as everyone else on freaking YouTube says, you know, I'm trying to grow the channel and put more energy into it, especially with this Christmas season coming up. Give it a like, subscribe, comment, tell your friends, engage, and we'll have a fun community growing that's been fading these last few years. We want to bring that stuff back hardcore. All right, cool. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll talk to you again super soon.